Donald Trump had an interview with the Economic Club of Chicago earlier today, and while there, he was confronted over January 6th in an absolutely spectacular way that really highlights just how bad January 6th truly was. So we're going to take a look at that interview here in a second, but first, I want to show you an ad that proves that Republicans, even those who seem like MAGA supporters now, knew that Trump is a terrible human being from the start. This is a very powerful ad, so take a look. Yeah, I think this perfectly demonstrates that all of the major Republicans know that Trump is a horrible person, but they all suck up to him because he is the one who rules the Republican Party. And keep in mind, these are Republicans who experienced January 6th firsthand, and they still have to pretend with Trump that it was just a peaceful protest, despite them all hiding and fearing for their lives. It is just insane to me how they can keep up with this act. But this brings us perfectly to this new clip of Trump getting confronted over January 6th at the Economic Club of Chicago. So take a look at this clip.
Business people here in this room, business people, capital markets, they all like the rule of law, they like certainty. The Chinese, who you mentioned, other dictators,
right,
they don't like it when things go wrong, but they like it when things go wrong in America. If you look at the events of January the 6th, 2021, it showed to many people America's democracy was unruly and violent. Only 3 weeks to go to the election. Will you commit now to respecting and encouraging a peaceful transfer of power?
Well, you had a peaceful transfer of power.
You had a peaceful transfer of power. You had a peaceful... Come on, President Trump. You had a peaceful transfer of power compared with Venezuela, but it was by far the worst transfer of power for a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because this is what they like to do. This is what they like to do. It's very interesting.
The question, President Trump, is would you respect the decision?
When I found out about this interview, I did a little check. This is a man that has not been a big Trump fan over the years. So I had a choice. Do I do this interview or not? I'm glad I did it. But do I do this interview or do I disappoint a lot of people? Because I know a lot of people in the audience. But his view is very different than mine. Let me just tell you.
I'm asking you a question, Professor.
We had a term, peacefully and patriotically. These were people. If you think an election is crooked, and I do, 100%, if you think the day it comes when you can't protest, you take a look at the Democrats. They protested 2016. They're still protesting it. Nobody talks about them. But if we protest, we want to have honest elections. People were angry. People went there. And I'll tell you what, they never show that. The primary scene in Washington was hundreds of thousands, the largest group of people I've ever spoken before, and I've spoken before. And it was love and peace. And some people went to the Capitol. And a lot of strange things happened there. A lot of strange things with people being waved into the Capitol by police, with people screaming, go in, that never got into trouble. I don't want to mention names, but you know who they are. A lot of strange things happened. But you had a peaceful, very peaceful. I left the morning that I was supposed to leave. I went to Florida, and you had a very peaceful transfer. This was not and I'll tell you what, those people that did go down, which was a tiny fraction of the people that went to Washington. I mean, you're talking about a very, very small, because hundreds of thousands of people, and I don't know what you had, 500, 600, 700 people go down to the Capitol. But those people, that was not one of those people had a gun. Nobody was killed except for Ashley Babbitt. She was killed. She was shot in the head by a policeman what he did was horrible.
President Trump,
I think we should be allowed to disagree on that. And obviously, you see by the reaction in this room,
let's return to one other big subject you bring up repeatedly, immigration.
I think the way the moderator approached this was just completely perfect. Because by him saying that it was peaceful compared to Venezuela, it really brings in the contrast to how violent it truly was. And if you remember, the initial question was if he would encourage a peaceful transfer of power, and guess what? He never answered that simple question. that is a core pillar to our democracy, and Trump still refuses to just answer that question. And this should tell you everything that you need to know, because Trump 100% wants to have another January 6th if he were to lose this election. And in my opinion, we cannot have someone willing to overthrow our democracy as our president, as that would just lead to a complete disaster.